putting out the solo record really isn't that much different, I guess, from releasing a Lucero album. I've never released a proper solo record. I did do The Last Pale Light in the West, which was somewhere in between an EP and a full-length album. It was like 7 songs. And there was no promo, no anything. I think we just put it out kind of on our own imprint. And yeah, it's been in and out of print kind of ever since then. I think it's out of print. But there was no real, push. There was no real release to speak of. So this is more like a Lucero release in that we're actually doing a little bit of PR and actually letting people know that it's out in the world or will be soon. And so I don't know, other than just it being exciting for me that it's something a little bit different, and it's these songs that are really personal to me, I guess. Maybe, I don't know, Lucero and I are so intertwined. Those are very personal songs as well. But these are, I don't know, these are special to me in a way. So in that way, it's different, but mainly it's different on a personal level. As far as the mechanics of everything, it's similar.
I hear people say that, this is so-and-so's most personal album, most personal work to date. And I'm curious, like, specifically what that means to you.
I think for me, it means the way they were written, more than what's actually in the songs. Like I said, I've got some very extremely personal Lucero songs, about myself and my family, and it can get real personal real fast. But with this record, it was written in a certain isolation. There was never a moment where I brought these songs to the band. I usually write by myself, but then at whatever stage in the process, at some point, I bring them to the Lucero band members. And then the songs, even though I wrote them, they're not completely mine anymore. The guys kind of bring their own things to the table, and things get changed and compromised and adjusted. Some things get made way better. There's always that kind of serendipitous aspect to it. And so it's always really fun. Usually really fun. Sometimes it's a struggle and a conflict, but in general, bringing the songs to the Lucero guys, I don't know what it's going to end up like. Whereas with these, I kept them closer to my chest, and I had an idea for a few folks that I've met over the years that I wanted to work with and hadn't had an opportunity to do so. And these songs seem like a good way to bring in fresh blood and get a chance to work with some other musicians, just for the hell of it. Just because I heard these songs in a slightly different way. They were, I heard sounds on them that aren't usually on Lucero songs, violin and pedal steel and some different styles of electric guitar. And so, yeah, I kind of kept these to myself. And so for that reason, if nothing else, it makes them a little more personal to me.
Obviously, there is collaboration, though. You're working with other musicians, but they're not really playing as large of a role in songwriting. It sounds like.
And yeah, they're not becoming Lucero songs. But I don't know if the casual listener would even necessarily pick up on what I'm saying. But for me, taking a song that I've worked on for however long, months, maybe years sometimes, or I wrote it last night. However long I've worked on this song, that's very personal to me. There's taking it to those specific guys in the band who I've been with since 1998. So for 25, 26, 27 years, taking it to those guys, then I kind of know what to expect, but it becomes a Lucero song. Whether it's not so much co-writing, it's just there's certain elements that are intrinsic to them and this process that we've established over the last quarter of a century. And so yeah, I did want to collaborate with other people. And I just wanted to collaborate in a slightly different way. And so yeah, for some reason, I didn't hear these as Lucero songs. I heard them as something different.
I'm always curious when a song is brought to a group in a situation like that, whether the other guys ask you like what it's about, or you feel like you have to volunteer that up.
Sometimes, not usually. I don't think they really care most of the time. I think that most Lucero songs, I know that Brian Venable, my guitar player, who's been in the band the longest, we kind of started the band together. We were the only two members at first. And I don't know if he knows any of the lyrics. He doesn't know the song titles. I know that. He just has his nicknames. The song, the da-da-da-da-da song. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, let's play that. He doesn't know the titles, so I highly doubt he actually has ever listened to the lyrics. He's listened to the songs, but I think he actively does not hear the lyrics. The other guys might be a little more attentive, but usually they focus on their parts, and if they can dial those in, then they're happy. I don't know. So yeah, it kind of varies throughout the band. Some guys listen a little closer than others.
When you say he actively does not hear the lyrics, are you saying that he intentionally doesn't hear the lyrics?
Possibly. I'm not sure if he only has so much bandwidth to work with, or he's a writer in his own style. He doesn't write songs, but he writes poetry and prose, and kind of journals and fanzines. And yeah, I think he's interested. He just doesn't have time to be too worried about the Lucero lyrics. He's a little detached from it, and he kind of exists. He only has room for his own world of words and literature. Lucero, I think, is more of a job in a certain way for Brian. And he loves playing the music, but he's not too worried about the lyrics. The other guys do pay a little more attention. They usually, there's not a lot of questions about like, oh, who's this song about, or what inspired this song. It's more usually just, that's nice, or I like that turn of phrase, or smaller comments. They usually don't do there's not a lot of prying or digging. Out of I don't know. I think they appreciate the song maybe for what it is, and appreciate the lyrics as they are, and they leave me enough room to keep some of it a little more mysterious.
I mean, obviously, in a very literal sense, it is a job, and it is your job. But how would you distinguish that? I mean, there must be days when it feels more like a job than others.
Sure. Yeah. Going on the road can be fun, but it's, especially as you get a little older, it takes a bigger toll. And when you have family at home, that makes it tougher, but, and that makes it feel more like a job when you're away from your family for, 5 weeks at a time. But still, you can't complain. I mean, yeah, you get to play rock and roll every night, and people pay you at least a little bit. Not a lot usually, but enough to scrape by. And so, yeah, you can't complain at all. No, as far as jobs go, we're very lucky to have this job.
As you're getting older, but continuing to tour and play, are you going easier on yourself now?
Yeah, I guess so. If by easier, you mean maybe a little less whiskey?
Yeah, I mean, you're not actively trying to destroy your body in the process of
not actively, which yeah, and maybe at one point in time I was on a mission possibly. And no, now it's not as intentional. I don't know. I guess yeah, let me think. Rick, our piano player, and Brian Venable, they both quit drinking for quite a while, maybe over the last 10 years. They've been sober for the most part. And really, we've all slowed down. probably John C., the bass player, and myself, we still drink our fair share of bourbon, probably. But most of the guys have definitely, if they're not sober, they've definitely slowed down. But I've slowed down myself. It's funny. It's now when I'm at home. Yeah, I don't get out very much at all. It's mainly just time with the family, which is wonderful. But yeah, so it's really kind of now strictly on the road is where, yeah, if things do get a little wild, yeah, it's usually out there playing shows. That's where I tend to get in the most trouble, if I still get in trouble at all.
It's funny, that sobriety is like, can be and is such a like a binary thing for a lot of people. It is for me, right? I mean,
Right.
I was a big bourbon, whiskey, rye guy for a long time, and then I decided that if I was going to give it up, then it needed to be fully. Is that
makes sense?
As you're watching your bandmates, do that, and again, as you're, I assume, a little more focused on your own health, having a family, is that a route that you considered?
I've thought about it, and I don't know. Right now, it's all about balance, I guess. And yeah, trying to play enough shows to stay alive. But yeah, not so many that, yeah, you work yourself to death. And yeah, and drinking kind of, for me personally, kind of falls in that category. It used to be way out of balance. But like I said, now when I'm at home, yeah, no, I don't drink for months at a time.
Yeah.
But then on the road, yeah, we're drinking most nights. Maybe not a lot, but it's always there. But overall, there's a certain balance to it. I guess some people would just call it binge drinking, but to me, I call it a balance.
Yeah. I mean, is that because obviously a part of your job and playing these shows, you're largely playing at places with bars. It's around. It's part of socializing.
Right. Sure, and yeah, it's where the songs usually take place. Lucero songs, at least. And yeah, that's always kind of been, if not an upfront element, it's always an underlying element kind of to the songs. It's just that environment, whether it's mentioned or not, specifically in the lyrics. It kind of goes along with the band. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But no, it's in the old days, we'd pull into town and just get drunk before we got on stage. And we had horrible, horrible shows for years on years. And then, yeah, we worked on, okay, we won't drink until we get on stage. And those could still go horribly awry as well. And yeah, and on this last tour that we just came home from, I've been home for about a week, and we were out on the road with the Menzingers from Philadelphia, and it was a great tour. We were the middle band. And so, yeah, I did a whole lot of those shows just, yeah, with no drinks at all. And it was just fine. So yeah, for me, it wouldn't hurt me to completely quit drinking, but it's not necessary right at the moment. I know people for whom it is necessary.
At this point in your life, you have a pretty good idea of whether or not you're an alcoholic.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, I figure there's probably a spectrum for alcoholics as well, and I'm sure I'm on the spectrum, but for right now, no, we'll see. I think if I would have quit, if I would have completely sobered up, who knows? 15 years ago, 10 years ago, yeah, there's no telling what direction things could have gone. I know I've made some mistakes over the last 10 to 15 years that I might have not made otherwise. So yeah, you never know. And it could always possibly help. But yeah, I'm not sure. I might have done enough damage already to where I can't do that much more damage.
I believe in you. Yeah.
We'll see.
In the early days, was it what they would call Dutch courage?
Oh yeah, for sure. The nerves had especially at the very beginning, had a large part to do with it. Hence the drinking before getting on stage. Yeah, it's that. What do you call it when you feel like you're kind of a fake and you don't deserve to be where you are? What are they? Imposter syndrome, exactly. There's some of that too. It takes the edge off of that. And then, as you know, during the shows when everything's falling apart, and you know the bass player's unplugged your amp, and and Brian's broken all the strings on the guitar, and everybody's playing things 4 times faster than they should be. Yeah, sometimes in a very unhealthy way, you're like, yes, I will take 4 shots of that bourbon, please, just to escape this this train wreck that I'm on for the next 45 minutes. So yeah, there was definitely some self-medication and some running from reality, and some covering up that the fact that maybe we don't deserve to be here at all. So yeah,
Imposter syndrome is a funny thing that I think for people who deal with it, there isn't really a level of success that you could get to that would completely negate that for you.
right. From what I hear about it, and yeah, even just at the low level that we're at, I've there's a certain level of imposter syndrome. Like, I'm like, oh God, we don't even deserve to be on this bottom rung.
That's interesting because I was kind of approaching it from the other way of like, oh, you know, I'm really successful. A lot of people like this. I'm not an imposter, but you're kind of going the other way.
Well, no, I don't know. I'm being a little facetious. No, it's right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly. I don't know. Yeah, I think as far as imposter syndrome goes, it's other than just having a couple of extra drinks to make it go away. It's never really been that. I haven't thought about it that much, to be honest.
On a set of songs like this, or you know, anytime that you're playing, like specifically solo and acoustically,
Right.
You're out there, like you're putting yourself out there, and you don't have
True.
any of the protections of being in a big, loud band.
Yeah, I am looking forward to. I'm doing a 2-week tour, and I had 3 other musicians play with me on In the Heart of the Mountain. Corey Brannon on electric guitar and acoustic guitar, Todd Bean on pedal steel and electric guitar, and Morgan Eve Swain on violin and backing vocals. And on the tour, it's only 2 weeks, but I'll be able to bring out 2 or 3 of them at a time, maybe all 3 at once for some of the shows. I'll take whatever combination I can get. Everybody's really busy. But I'm looking forward to these shows because they aren't Lucero shows. And in a way, they're not even just Ben Nichols acoustic shows like they have been in the past. This is an album release tour supporting In the Heart of the Mountain. And I'm kind of looking forward to having a different dynamic on stage. This isn't the rowdy get drunk with all your friends and sing along to 20-year-old Lucero songs. At least I'm hoping this is more, have some drinks and quietly listen to some brand new Ben Nichols acoustic songs. And so, yeah, we'll see how the tour goes. We'll see if the crowd that comes out is a listening crowd or a rowdy crowd. Either way will be fine. But for me personally, I'm looking forward to approaching it kind of in a fresh way, outside of the stigma of Lucero, for better or for worse. Yeah, like I said, I've never really had a proper full-length solo record before. So yeah, this is kind of new for me. Even at the age of 50, this is something I've never really done. And I don't have to be Lucero, and I don't want to be Lucero for this. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
You know, obviously you and I have never spoken before, but I know your music, and I've listened to some interviews that you've done. You strike me as a fairly like earnest person, generally speaking. Like certainly,
Oh, thank you.
lyrically, do you feel that you've gone further in that direction the more songs you've written?
I think I've gotten a little bit better as a writer. It was always earnest, maybe overly so in the past, especially when the band first started. I think I've gotten a little bit better at editing some of that, or possibly overwriting so that I can write through some of the mistakes, and then I've got enough left over to piece everything back together. And once you piece it back together, it actually is closer to what you originally wanted to say than if you would have just kept the first version of the first verse that you wrote. I don't know. I think I've gotten better at the process a little bit.
I would hope so.
I don't know. Yeah, I hope so too. I wouldn't say every song is better than the one before it, just because that's not how it works. But overall, just kind of with the craft of songwriting, I think the earnestness is still there. Hopefully, it's just slightly better addressed now.
I'm curious, what do you mean when you say overly earnest?
I don't know. I guess not well written, I think, is what I'm.
It's like teenage poetry, right? That's
Exactly.
the thing you don't,
Yeah, where it's a little maybe too heart on the sleeve, a little too nail on the head. It's just there could be other more subtle ways of approaching the same emotions and the same topics, without just blurting it out and making it rhyme. Which sometimes is great, and some of my favorite songs are probably exactly that. But for an entire catalog of songs, and for a whole career worth of songs, it is nice to try to work a little bit beyond that.
I mean, I'm sure that you've seen this in other people's careers, and just being a music fan yourself. I guess a fan of like this applies to a lot of different art forms, but a lot of formerly deeply sarcastic people become very earnest when they start a family.
Right. And I don't think I ever considered myself too sarcastic. I don't know if I was ever good at being sarcastic. If I was, I never set out to be. And the songs that I always liked the most, I'm not a big fan of irony in songs. Not
a Randy Newman fan.
Well, see, that's you're right. No, it cuts both ways. No, I love Randy Newman, but you're right that the kind of untrustworthy narrator it's a trickier listen for me. I appreciate it, and I love the songwriting craft involved in that. It's not easy for me to do. It never came naturally for me. So I recognize it and I respect it. And there's some guys that do it amazingly well. But I don't know if that's something that I ever did. Having a family definitely changed my perspective on things. It made me realize, it made me want to stick around a little bit longer. It made me, want to stop killing myself for whatever reason, whatever was eating away at me. That kind of fueled the first half of the band. It made me, want to take a step back from that. And I was worried about how that would affect the songwriting, but I think it actually gave me more room to focus and actually try to capture what I really wanted to say in a much more concise and possibly earnest way. It was a healthy move for sure. And maybe a little more complicated than just going from sarcastic to earnest. Yeah, but it's part of it.
I was talking to somebody about this the other day. We were discussing. There are a few examples that I can think of in the past, like several years, that are an artist's last album from an artist who like knew it was going to be the last album. Like Bowie Blackstar
Sure.
is one that comes to mind, but also I don't know if you're. I'm guessing because you are a Randy Newman fan that maybe you're also a Warren Zevon fan.
Yeah.
Did you listen to that last record he put out?
I did. I don't know it as well as I should, and it's been a while since I've heard it. I've got my Zevon kind of playlist of my hits, my favorites. And that's shame on me for I don't listen to music quite the same way I used to.
Sure.
I always go back to the tried and true for me, and I should step outside of that more often. And so yeah, that's one I need to go back and listen to again. But I do remember when it came out. And yeah, I can't, that's a situation, it's hard to put myself into that situation, actually. Yeah, I can't imagine, there's always pressure recording an album, writing the songs and recording it. I can't imagine that kind of pressure. Or that kind of perspective. So yeah, it makes those songs very intense.
This applies to a lot of Zevon's career, but definitely that last album were better than just about anybody else. He was able to walk that line between being humorous and sarcastic and still being incredibly earnest at the same time. He's
always had, that dark humor has always been a vein throughout all of his stuff, from way back. And he does it just as good as anybody, for sure. With Lucero, there's a little bit of that gallows humor in there, and a little bit of that, I don't know. I don't know if we have funny songs, but we have maybe a funny line in some very earnest songs. And I think that might be part of the trick. That might be part of the element of writing the songs that keeps it from being too earnest. If you can make fun of yourself, especially within this heartfelt lyric, yeah, I don't think that's ever a bad thing. I think that it actually makes it, more true in whatever way.
If I've entered this point in my life where, I've really started going back and like re-examining some of the, I guess some of the beliefs that I held, or some of the things that I did that now in hindsight seem like completely arbitrary. Like, I think that's like an important part of getting old. And I think to me and probably a lot of people, this relates to punk in a big way, that there are certain pieces of that there are certain ethoses.
The plural of ethos, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Ethosi. That are there for good reason and continue to make sense. But there are just other things that I've just done and held on to that I've re-examined. And I think like the process of doing that has just generally made me like a nicer person and an easier person to be around.
It's not what it was in 1993. It's not. There's not a Dear You that could happen now. It doesn't exist that way. Probably for the better. Things have changed, and everyone's perspective has changed on that. I think that scene at that time, there were a lot of rules. There were a whole lot of rules. And that's part of what started Lucero is, I'd been in my fair share of, I'd been in one Jawbreaker inspired band. And I was a big Jawbreaker fan. But then, Lucero started because we were all hanging out, going to the same local shows. And then, we were all fans of the same bands that were touring the country at the time. We were all part of that scene. Playing these kind of quiet country songs at these same shows. It wasn't much, but it was kind of our form of rebelling against the status quo of the time. That was at least part of the spark that got Lucero going in the first place, was kind of a rejection of some of those, more strict, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if ethos is the right word. But yeah, stricter ways of having to be. Yeah, we were running away from that a little bit. So yeah, as far as selling out today goes, yeah, I don't know if anybody worried about it.
I think that, I think that things are just feel so universally bad right now, and that it's become so difficult to make a living doing your art that if you sell your song to a car commercial, nobody's going to get that upset about it.
Right. No, I think it's definitely viewed in a different way, at least with most bands. I don't know. I think I don't want to belittle it. I know that now it's different for different artists. I know there's still a lot of folks that wouldn't be caught dead, profiting off of something in that commercial of a way. And then for other people, it's a much more gray area. And Lucero's never had the opportunity to sell out really in that form or fashion. No one's ever asked us if nobody wants to buy you, then you don't have to worry about selling out. And so
randomly, I was because I know your stuff, but I still like to do at least a little bit of research prior to speaking to somebody, and I think this might have been from like a cruise show around New York where
gosh, I remember we've done those a few times. Yeah.
Specifically in this, and I think it's great. You basically said, I don't, people can kind of use our music in any way that they want. I don't care unless you're a Nazi. And I think that that's a good.
If you're gonna fucking draw a line in the sand, that's not a hard one to draw either. That's.
You'd think so for most people, but
these days, man, gosh, it's crazy out there. But yeah, I'll stand by that one. That sounds like something I would have said.
Yeah, I want to back up because you said something really interesting, and I've never really contextualized it in that way. But this idea of playing country songs being an act of rebellion in like a punk setting is very interesting.
Small rebellion at the time, a very localized, almost maybe just in our hometown, in Memphis at that time. Because that's way before social media, way before, the real internet. So it was a much more localized rebellion, a very more personal rebellion. There was no, I wouldn't say Lucero was, a reaction against the punk rock of that entire era. It was more just kind of us versus them, at that time and at that place, very specifically. But there was a little bit of that in there. Nothing that you could market, on an Instagram scale now. It wouldn't work like that. Because now everybody just does their own thing now, and it's great. And everybody has their own little worlds on their own little YouTube channels. And that's just kind of how it works. But back then, I don't know. In our little scene, that rebellion, it was important to us at the time. And then it kind of translated a little bit by bit as we toured through the late 90s and early 2000s. And we played still these kind of remnants of these little scenes that were changing, but there were still little pockets left. And we would kind of, we'd spread that little bit of rebellion across the country as we toured in the early days. And then at some point, there was no, it wasn't a rebellion anymore. Everything had shifted, and we were just doing what everybody else was doing.
Again, this has never really occurred to me, but it makes sense as you're saying it that, like, of course, the backlash against country would be worse in the South because,
Yeah,
like
sure.
they've had it, they've had it kind of like shoved in their face. They feel,
Exactly.
as far as being the popular culture.
Definitely. And and so yeah. No, some of the kids, especially in the hardcore scene, had no interest in us being there at all. It was antithetical to what they stood for. And we're not singing songs about politics. We're singing heartbreak songs. And so yeah, it was a little bit, I don't know. I didn't know where else to play shows. I didn't know. All I knew was, the venues that had these kind of DIY punk shows.
I think you would have had more trouble playing in a honky tonk.
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes.
It just wasn't probably a place for you.
The way that we played country would probably be blasphemous to true country fans. So. Yeah,
but they do have the chicken wire at those places.
We've done a couple of those. In the old days, for sure. So yeah, we carved out a nice little niche for ourselves where we were playing the exact kind of music that no one liked. Country people hated it. Punk rock people hated it. And we're like, you know what? This is what we're going to make a career out of.
How does that shake out? Just, if you keep doing something long enough, then you find those people who are attracted to it?
I guess don't fit in 100% in either place as well. And I guess there are enough of those folks floating around. And I like to think that actually, I like to think that the songwriting was good enough to actually attract people who just liked a good song.
I think this is your upcoming tour for this new record, but I would classify it as kind of the Southern tour, right? I mean,
it's just kind of the central United States, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. But largely in the South. And you're from Arkansas originally, right?
Originally, yeah, from Little Rock.
Yeah. So,
and it starts in Little Rock.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, I'm curious, like, in terms of, if there was, again, this was some time ago now, but in the early days in Memphis, and I'm guessing other, geographically similar areas, that there was that pushback. Do you feel like that like younger people's relationship to country has also shifted in that they've become just generally more open to it?
I think so. And they've been, I think, at least from what I see on the social media stuff, is since there was a time, I don't know, there was a time before Sturgill Simpson and Tyler Childers and Jason Isbell, your Charlie Crockett, and there was a time before all that, and Lucero was there at that time, but these guys came along and did it on a whole nother level, in a way that we never could. There's been bands, like the Drive-By Truckers, and then on the more indie rock side, kind of Deer Tick's been around for forever.
Uncle Tupelo.
Tupelo was there before we were, for sure. And so you had Wilco and Sun Volt after the Uncle Tupelo split. But then it was tricky for a while. And that's when we were around. But now there is this, I don't know is it called outlaw country, or there is kind of a more underground side to.
Yeah, they used to call it alt country. Well,
right.
Obviously before that it was outlaw country.
But
I don't know.
I mean, Tyler Childers and Sturgill Simpson are country artists. They're good country artists.
Jason Isbell is a country
Jason
artist.
Isbell for sure.
Yeah.
But they still exist outside of what I would call mainstream country. But they've carved a pretty big swath out for themselves. And they're creating something that'll be talked about for a long time and well respected for a long time, and they're not going anywhere. They're with us for the long haul, and that's great. Even somebody, I mean, Zach Bryan's the biggest thing out there right now, and even what he's doing, I feel like that's not mainstream country either, and he's one of the biggest selling artists out there. So there's been a shift. We never did it. We were always too rough around the edges, and we had no idea what we were doing the whole time. We were still making this up as we go. We're still so kind of scatterbrained that we're a footnote in this movement, but we're not part of it. We were there before all these guys really changed that landscape. And so, yeah, we were part of maybe what made that possible. That sounds too strong. That doesn't sound right even. But
I was thinking about this in relation to Jason Isbell specifically because, like, yeah, I mean, musically, there are a lot of ways in which, like, I don't think his music would feel out of place. Maybe modern country, but played on country stations, and I think I wonder to what extent the niche that he's carved out for himself is a product of having been a part of the drive-by truckers.
Oh, I think definitely so. Yeah, that kind of that kind of old school punk rock attitude is a big part of what they do.
And he ended up being, I think, too punk rock for the truckers.
He might have been a little too wild for the truckers. Yeah. He lived hard and fast for a long time as well. And yeah, we played a lot of shows with Isbell in the old days and with the truckers in the old days. And we'd played with Tyler Childers before, and we played with Sturgill before. And so, yeah, that they're coming at it from, they learned all those lessons from those same scenes that Lucero was in the old days. They were there and they learned all that stuff, and they're doing their version of it. Exactly what Lucero did. They're just doing it with a higher ambition and just a little more focus and professionalism, which, yeah, we just didn't have the wherewithal to get to that level. We've maintained a pretty solid trajectory and a pretty solid fan base, but we're not going to be that Tyler Childers level. We're not playing songs that have that kind of really broad appeal. I don't have that kind of voice, and I'm not that level of songwriter. These guys are doing really good work that I really respect. And so, yeah, for Lucero, it's just nice to be. It's nice to be part of the game, playing the game. We're out on the field. I don't know what position we're playing. We're way out there. We're not the quarterback.
Maybe you're the kicker.
Yeah, I'm not the pitcher in the baseball game, but we're out there on the field somewhere. And we're at least selling some corn dogs in the stands.
I wonder if scenes really could meaningfully exist in the age of the internet the way they used to.
Man, that's a great question. And I think they exist, and they exist online. And I don't know how that works. My daughter will be able to tell me one day probably, but I don't know. If I did, maybe we'd be doing business a different way. But I don't know. There's a part of me that really wants to believe that there's, some crappy house in some small town down the road where these kids are doing really cool, fun stuff that we've never heard before. And one day we'll hear it. There's a part of me that believes it's got to be out there somewhere.
Many years ago, this is funny, this actually ties in an interesting way. Many years ago, in Santa Cruz, I went to school in Santa Cruz and lived in a crappy house with The Devil Makes Three.
Oh, wow.
Early days.
Yeah.
I get, yeah, and I know that you've got a musician playing on this album that plays with them. Insofar as like in like scene can exist, and you're in a scene, are they part of your scene?
Oh, 100%. I'm pretty sure we played in Santa Cruz with them way back in the old days, and we played a couple of shows since then as well. We might have done Red Rocks with them actually, just a little while back. But yeah, I think Morgan Eve actually plays upright bass for them.
Yeah.
And she plays violin on the solo record coming up. But yeah, I do feel like we're part of, if those guys that we were just talking about, your Tyler Childers and your Sturgills and your Jason Isbells are kind of the top of whatever scene this is. Yeah, there's 100 other bands that are also, part of creating this. I don't know, because it's not like a local scene where we're seeing everybody at the same venue 4 times a week, and we're all watching each other's bands play, and and we're all writing songs during the week, and then all showing up. And this is how it was in Memphis in the old days, writing songs during the week and then going and playing these new songs that weekend at the shows to try to impress the other guys in the other bands. And then they go off and write some, and there's this healthy competition. I think that exists, but it's more ethereal now, and it's more online. And we're all out on the road, but we don't see each other, and we don't come in contact like we did in the old days in those smaller scenes. But I also like to believe that there is some weird social media influenced scene that we're a part of. I don't know if it's a genre or if it's I don't know what you'd call it. A musical. I don't know. I don't know what you call it, but a scene is good enough, I guess. And I like to think that we're a part of that. I hope we are.
Something I catch myself doing that I need to, that I tell myself like I need to stop is kind of romanticizing the shitty parts, romanticizing the grime, romanticizing the things that in some ways you kind of tried hard to move away from.
And the seediness and the old school New York. And but what you're saying is that you're trying to stop that feeling?
Yeah, well, I think part of it, because you were actually talking about this a little bit before, as far as when you're discussing, like, at the end of the day, how lucky you are to play in a band that, again, and I think this is also kind of a part of like what I'm trying to do as I get older, is kind of like be grateful for these things and the things that I worked hard to get, and to remind myself that, like, there was a lot about that time that really fucking sucked.
I appreciate where I am, and I wouldn't be here without those rougher times.
Yeah,
but there's no reason to perpetuate those times out of some sense of not selling out, or out of some sense of it'll make my songwriting better, or it'll make me a better person, or more true person. I don't feel like I don't feel like I have to live the way I used to live to make the art that I want to make. When I got married and wrote Among the Ghosts, that was the first record I wrote for Lucero after getting married and having a kid. And it's my favorite Lucero record out of all of them. It just happened to come together in a really concise way. And I like the songs on it. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to write good songs, but that was quickly, at least in my mind, disproven. And so, there's a lot inside of each one of us. And I think sometimes we all worry if we've scraped the bottom of the barrel and we're out of fuel for whatever it is that we're pursuing, whatever it is we want to do. But I think that Usually that's an unfounded worry. I think I think there's depths within all of us that, yeah, if you dig deep enough, for better, you don't know what you're going to find, maybe, but there's fuel there. It just depends, what you want to do with it. And so yeah, I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to live the way I used to live. I still write about it. And so, I don't know, is romanticizing it bad? I'm not sure. I don't think so necessarily. But as long as you don't trick yourself into thinking that you have to be a way that you don't really want to be, as long as you're honest with yourself, going back and remembering that world and living in that world for the space of a song, I think that could be rewarding and possibly even healthy, to remember what was and realize how things are now. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's exactly where you were going with that or not.
It's nice when you get to, if you can get to a point when you realize that, like, oh, I don't necessarily have to be completely miserable all the time to make art.
Yeah, that is, yes. And that, I think, is a very mature realization to have. When you're young, it's hard to accept that.
Yeah, well, all your favorite artists were miserable, right? And
sure, for sure. Tortured.
How many of them shot themselves in the head?
Yeah, it happens. But no, there's a certain beauty in realizing that you're not, you don't have to wear that albatross necessarily. And yeah, you can make really good work without killing yourself, I guess is what it comes down to.
In the heart of the mountain, I was lost, now I'm found. I won't let her lose me again. She quiets my demons, put down by the legion, and my heart is hers to the end. She says, come back inside the cabin. She says she won't let nothing bad happen. You fall